Welcome to another team selection video ahead of Game Week 13, and this will be slightly different. I am going to be away within the next few days, but I'm trying to get this team selection and best wildcard team videos out for you on the channel, as well as all the usual Matchday 5 content for UCL Fantasy. And whilst I'm away, I'm going to try record some videos ahead of Game Week 14, and if by some miracle I can stream, I will, but that is very unlikely. Focusing on today though, I'm not really going to be evaluating how I did in Game Week 12 because there's still so many players left to play at the time, so I'm not going to make stuff up and say, oh, I scored 100 points. I'd love to say that, but no, we've got to deal with facts. So I'm just going to show you how I've been doing so far after the games on the Tuesday, but that's about it. Then we're going to go straight into it and dive into the Game Week 13 team selection and talking about some hits that I could take, which I'm willing to take, that I think could greatly benefit my team up until the World Cup. If it wasn't for a late move for Mohamed Salah in for Heung-min Son, Trossard would have been my captain, and he actually looked very lively in the first half against Nottingham Forest, despite playing as a left wing-back essentially. He hit the crossbar, he also got close to a few assists on a couple of occasions, but it just didn't quite materialise, and that's now 3 games in a row where Brighton have failed to score against Tottenham, Brentford and now Nottingham Forest. So I'd be deeply concerned about them going forwards, and they face City and Chelsea next. So I think Trossard was kind of a one-week punt for me, and I would have been open to the idea of potentially rotating with Andreas Pereira and maybe one of my defenders in the weeks to come. But with the great options that City and Arsenal offer you, I'm very, very tempted to actually get one of them in for Trossard, as I'll discuss later on in this video. But let's see how Salah does as my captain against West Ham. I've still got 7 players left, but from those that played, Kilman conceded twice, and Wolves actually went ahead. Adama Traore cancelled the Crystal Palace clean sheet and put Wolves ahead, but Crystal Palace made the comeback, and Zaha was a big part of it, scoring the winning goal. But it was Eze who stole the show with another 10-pointer. But at least Zaha got a bonus point and a goal. You can't complain too much, and he looked pretty good in that game. He scored in both games against Wolves last season, so he's continuing on in terms of that tradition there. So pretty good stuff from Zaha, and that has actually enabled me to go up in rank so far. I have to say so far because obviously we're still very early on in the week, but I'm now up to 522,000 in the world, and I've got 650 points overall with 14 on the clock at the moment. But let's see how the other 7 players do, including my captain Salah, and that is pretty much all that needs to be said about Game Week 12. Let's now look into Game Week 13 and my team selection. There's a first time for everything, and because Spurs are going to be hosting Newcastle, I'm going to opt for Ward, I believe, away to Wolves, who struggle to score goals, and despite Leicester's defensive woes, I think I will go for Ward over Pope, but that's something I'm yet to decide. I definitely will start one of my Newcastle defensive coverage, whether it's Pope or Trippier, but at the moment I'm leaning more towards starting Ward over Pope and then seeing what I can do with my defence. But let me know your thoughts on that conundrum, and which goalkeeper dilemmas do you have? We seem to have some every single week, but Ward away to Wolves isn't the worst in the world, and even if Leicester concede, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but you don't expect Leicester to concede too many goals because of the nature of Wolves' attack. I'm looking to bench Anderson and Kilman this week and start a back 3 with Doherty and Trippier facing each other, and they could haul in the same game, and Newcastle can frustrate the top teams. They've only lost once all season, and that was to a late winner by Liverpool, so they're very difficult to beat, and I wouldn't actually be surprised if Newcastle got a result here, although historically Spurs do get the better of them, especially at the Tottenham Stadium. And Cancelo at home to Brighton, I mean, especially with the way Brighton are playing, I could see City keeping a clean sheet, and also possibly an attack and return there for Joao Cancelo, and you'd expect City to sweep them aside. Normally, you know, with Graham Potter and maybe with the form they showed early in the season, this could have been a much tougher game, but as things stand, and obviously seeing recent performances, I would still heavily back City for the win, and a comprehensive one at that. But Doherty and Trippier, do I see both of them hauling in the same game? Not necessarily, but it is possible, and a 0-0 in terms of FPL would be perfect for me, and maybe I will consider the likes of Anderson away to Everton and also Kilman at home to Leicester, but at the moment I'm going to go for this back 3 and this defensive line. All the excitement lies in the midfield, where I'm looking to make 2 transfers potentially and taking a -4 hit as a result, bringing in Foden and Bukayo Saka in for Zaha and Trossard, who was a one-week punt for me, and I could still keep these options. Zaha obviously showed what he's capable of in Game Week 12, and he could definitely do more of the same in some of the upcoming fixtures, but I'm still not too convinced by Crystal Palace's attack, and they're very inconsistent, and I would expect maybe the occasional return from Zaha, of course, especially with these games coming up, but I just don't expect the consistency that I would from Foden and Saka, who are the 2 most informed midfielders in FPL right now, and Saka is actually probably the best player so far in October, definitely in his position anyway, and he's away to Southampton, where he actually missed a big chance last season, and Arsenal, that was one of the games where they slipped up in, and they missed out on the top 4 as a result. But this is a different Arsenal side, and whilst they can actually drop points to Southampton, I would not be surprised by that at all. I would still expect them to score, and Saka is one of the best players at the moment, and like I said in pre-season, even though it's a bit of an unpopular opinion, I believe that Saka would get more points than Jesus, and so far it is coming true, but of course we're still really early on into the season. And as for Phil Foden, he has a good record against Brighton. I believe he got like an 18-pointer last season at the Amex, and now he faces them at home, and I think Foden is just a must-buy at the moment, and he is a bit of an FPL troll for me, but I would still back him and kind of put aside my maybe preconceptions and my own personal biases and just go for Foden. And if I had to pick one this week, because I think it will be the situation for a lot of you, I think I would slightly prefer Foden at home to Brighton, and then you can bring in Saka ahead of Game Week 14. As for Salah away to Nottingham Forest, he's a good captaincy option, but just kind of a bit of a spoiler alert, and I think this will be the same for most of you. I'm not going to captain him over the robot up front, so he will be my vice captain most likely, and I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I know the fixture's there for him. If Salah now shows some even more good form against the likes of Ajax and West Ham, then maybe I'll start to consider it, because this could be a chance to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd, gain rank, and also try to go against the Haaland captaincy, which could also be a really good way of getting into a really good position so early on in the season. And Martinelli away to Southampton as well. That double up in Arsenal midfield, I actually like it. I'm not a huge fan typically of 2 midfielders from the same club, but honestly, with the way Arsenal are playing and the value these 2 midfielders offer, I think it's a no-brainer, especially Martinelli, who is still so cheap. So this is a really good midfield, probably the best I've had all season, and by some distance. All of my forwards have good fixtures this week, including Mitrovic away to Leeds, who have been very unlucky in the past 2 games to not pick up any Premier League points against Crystal Palace and Arsenal. And with Mitrovic, I don't expect double-digit returns, but what I do expect is returns in terms of just the occasional goal in most games, because that's what he's been doing over the past 50 league appearances in the Championship, and also carrying that on to the Premier League and for the Serbian national team. He has been an absolute goal-scoring machine. And speaking of goal-scoring machines, Erling Haaland at home to Brighton, probably the best captaincy option this week, but I still think there are some alternatives this week, such as Harry Kane, Heung-min Son potentially, Phil Foden and Salah. I think you could go to one of these options and do a really good job, and you could even consider an Arsenal attacker facing Southampton, who haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 16 appearances, and they are probably one of the worst defences over the calendar year and under Ralph Hasenhüttl in general. And Ivan Toney away to Aston Villa. Whilst Aston Villa have improved defensively in the past few games, I would still expect Brentford to score, and let's see if Mings is available for that game. I believe he will be. Jared seemed quite optimistic going into Game Week 12, so even if he does miss out in Game Week 12, he should be fine for Game Week 13. But either way, I think Toney can get the best of him, and he is just a great value option, even at 7.4 million. Just bear in mind, for those of you looking to bring in Ivan Toney, he's 1 yellow card away from suspension, so it could be James Maddison all over again. At the moment, I probably will captain Erling Haaland, but I am open to captaining someone like Foden, Salah, Cancelo, and even Bukayo Saka. But I think Salah would probably be next in line away to Nottingham Forest, despite their impressive clean sheet away to Brighton. And in terms of my bench, I've got Nick Pope there for the first time this season, but I'm still open to starting him over Ward and perhaps going for Anderson over Trippier instead. However, if Toney gets a yellow card against Chelsea, God forbid, then he will be suspended, and then maybe that will sort some of my benching dilemmas for me. But I want to focus my transfers in the midfield and start to rack up these Arsenal and City players and perhaps get a triple up in both teams. Let me know if you're looking to do the same thing as well. And now let me show you what I'm looking to do perhaps for Game Week 14 onwards, and how I could find a way to triple up on Arsenal. If I go through with the Saka and Foden moves, I would have 0.1 million left in the bank, and that is because I got in Salah, and that has greatly reduced my budget that I have available to spend. So actually any price rises for Saka and Foden could price me out, and I might make these transfers very, very soon before the Game Week 13 deadline to ensure I'm able to carry on with these plans. So with 0.1 million, what could I do? Well, it's kind of a simple one, but in Game Week 14, I'm open to the idea of selling one of Doherty, Anderson or Kilman for Ben White, and I'm yet to decide which one. When I look at the fixtures, Anderson has the best ones by far. Doherty plays in one of the best defences in the league, but he's also one of the least nailed. And by Game Week 13, Emerson Royal will be back from suspension, and he is still kind of viewed as the first choice right wing back. But maybe with Doherty's recent performances, that kind of slowly shifts the tide. So that'll be an interesting one to monitor. If Doherty will probably lose a spot in Game Week 13 and I get that impression that Emerson will start in that game, then I will do Doherty to Ben White, and that will be a very simple one. However, let's say, for example, Doherty becomes the first choice right wing back for Spurs, then I would actually keep him and instead get rid of Kilman for Ben White, and that would also offer me great value, and I would have two of the best defenses in the league for only 4.5 million essentially, or 4.6 million in Doherty's case, and I still have Cancelo and Trippier. So actually this defense and this overall squad actually looks fantastic, and it's kind of close to what a wildcard team would be like for me if I decide to use the chip in Game Week 13, and it really only would cost me a -4 hit to get this by Game Week 14. Let me know your thoughts in terms of this squad and my transfer plans going forward, and obviously, if I do get in Ben White, he would then start probably over Doherty, although he is facing Bournemouth away. So that's something that will give me a bit of a benching headache, but also some good squad depth. And having triple Arsenal at home to Nottingham Forest could be fantastic with these two wingers, Martinelli and Saka, as well as Ben White. And yes, you have the Chelsea game just after, but I could bench one or two of these Arsenal players by then, and then I could have a really good squad going forwards. The likes of Anderson or Doherty could come in, but to be fair, I think apart from Ben White, I would start Martinelli and Saka in Game Week 15. And when you look at the fixtures for those on my bench, there's not really any great replacements regardless. So Game Week 15 looks a bit weaker for me, but when you look at Game Week 13, 14 and 16, my team is very well set up, and then we obviously have unlimited transfers going into Game Week 17 and the World Cup by the time the Premier League resumes on the 26th of December. So let me know your thoughts on my transfer plans, and also what are you looking to do up until the World Cup. It's very important to stack up on some of these best teams and targeting these fixtures, and I think this squad would achieve that, with the possible exception of Game Week 15, where I still think my squad looks very strong on paper. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get this video to over 300 likes, and let's push on towards 16,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also become a patron or a channel member. The links are in the description below. The same goes for the FPL League and the Discord server. All of that is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 13 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.